Now that the references have been checked, it's time to schedule applicants for the first round of interviews. You should telephone each applicant and give them a choice of dates and times. Note the attitude and flexibility of the candidates during these telephone conversations. If it is difficult to get the interview scheduled, it will likely be even more difficult getting them onto the work schedule. Applicants that cancel without explanation or those that do not show up for their interview will obviously leave a bad first impression. Before the interview, you need to be prepared by having previously reviewed the applicant's resume and application. A crucial point to keep in mind is that each applicant is treated the same. This means that every interview consists of the same questions and is conducted in the same environment whenever possible. Observation plays an important role in the interview process. Observe the applicant's dress, hygiene, promptness, eye contact, friendliness, manners, communication skills, and overall attitude. The information gathered through your observations is often as valuable for making a hiring decision as the actual answers they give during the interview. As you observe and begin to assess the candidate, it is crucial for you to remember not to discriminate against an applicant based on race, gender, or age. Hospital policies for non-discrimination should be clearly defined. One of the most important parts of the interview process is getting the applicant to talk openly. Some casual conversation for the first several minutes of an interview often puts a candidate at ease and gets them talking. Once this has been established, begin by asking questions derived from your checklist. As you run down the list, make notes concerning the responses and continue to rate the candidate in the same way we discussed earlier. Their responses are not rated merely by content, but also by the way they speak and communicate. Did they hesitate with their answer? Was their response genuine? What does their body language convey? It should be your aim to do more listening than talking. You will always learn more about the candidate by listening than rattling on about how wonderful the hospital is. Some sample interview questions might include, what did you like best about your last job? What did you like least about your last job? Who was your favorite boss and why? What qualities or skills make you well suited for this job? Are there any limitations that would prevent you from performing the duties of this job? Describe your strengths and weaknesses as they might apply to this job. Why are you interested in this job? What experiences do you have that would aid you in succeeding at this job? It is essential that you maintain control of the interview at all times and be able to end it in a reasonable period of time. You should have asked sufficient questions and made enough observations by the end of the interview so as to eventually assess the applicant's skills, availability, and their motivation for wanting the job. You may want to retain some applicants longer in order for them to meet other staff members, meet the veterinarian, or perhaps take a tour of the hospital. This will largely depend on how seriously you are considering them for employment. At the end of every interview, you should ask the applicant whether or not he or she has any questions. It is not uncommon for prospective employees to inquire about salary, benefits, or even scheduling at this time. As you respond to their questions, be sure not to mislead them into thinking that they have been hired. If there is incompatibility with salary or availability, this is best communicated during the interview. Open and honest communication will prevent both you and the applicant from wasting any time. After answering the applicant's questions, you should shake their hand, thank them for coming in, and then tell them that you will contact them within a predetermined number of days. Regardless of whether or not you hire someone, some follow-up contact should always be made. Either a telephone call or letter would be appropriate. After the last applicant has been interviewed, you should compare the ratings of each applicant and organize them from most likely to hire to least likely to hire. At this time, the best candidate may be very obvious, and no additional interviews are necessary. This is not often the case, however. Second interviews with the top 2 or 3 applicants are often necessary to formulate a final decision. Second interviews may be conducted with the help of the doctor or other staff member. Using the doctor or other staff member will incorporate additional input into the hiring decision. The second interview will often probe for more details and will quite often take longer than the first interview. Some hospitals choose to screen final applicants with a working interview. By spending several hours working alongside the doctors and staff, A great deal can be learned about their work ethic, interpersonal skills, and their professional skills. We will call this method a working evaluation. This working evaluation offers a compatibility assessment. Does the applicant fit in with the hospital, and does he or she enjoy working with your employees and within your hospital environment? If you decide to choose a working evaluation, you should closely observe their interactions with clients, employees, and doctors. Try to have them perform some safe and routine tasks that they will be responsible for if hired. If they seem uncertain or unsure of how to perform routine duties, you may need to reconsider their qualifications. Keeping an accurate record will help you to remain objective until the final decision is made. Though working evaluations provide a great deal of valuable hiring information, they are not without their drawbacks. Employment laws, pay issues, and safety concerns are all significant issues to be considered by the owner and administrators when opting for a working evaluation. Consulting state and local employment offices will aid in assessing the pros and cons of the working evaluation. Making the final decision is oftentimes very difficult. Using objective scores obtained from assessing a candidate's skills, you can often arrive at a preliminary decision of 2 or 3 candidates. Choosing between these 2 or 3 candidates often becomes a more subjective decision. The input from the doctor and other staff members who may have worked with or interviewed the final applicants will also be valuable in choosing the right addition to your hospital. Throughout the hiring process, just remember to be fair and consistent. Apply the same criteria for each candidate and be thorough. Good decisions are made only when all the facts are in. Assess the candidate's skills, references, your observations, and assess their performance during the working evaluation if one was performed. Tabulating all of these variables will often make the best candidate an obvious choice.